Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a really interesting story. It's got significant implications for military power, international relations,
Hmm.
the potential acquisition of Chinese J-10C fighter jets by Egypt.
Yeah.
This isn't just about, a new plane.
Yeah.
It could really reshape Egypt's air force and maybe have ripple effects across the region.
Absolutely. And we've got a fascinating mix of information to look at, haven't we? From defense news, buzz at air shows,
Right.
local media reports, some denials too, even glimpses from joint military drills and analysis coming out of South Spain.
It sounds like a complex picture. Lots of hints. Speculation.
Suggesting something is definitely, well, in the air, so to speak.
Okay, let's try and unpack this then.
Yeah.
Why is this potential deal such a big deal? What's our goal, our mission in diving into this today?
Well, our aim is to try and cut through some of that noise, understand the underlying reasons why Egypt might be interested in the J-10C, and to see how this potential arms deal fits into the bigger picture, the global context. For you listening, especially if you follow current events closely, maybe with an eye on exams like the UPSC in India.
Ah, right. Good point for UPSC aspirants.
Yeah, it's a key benchmark for understanding policy international affairs. This is highly relevant. We're looking at defense strategy, international alliances, the shifting balance of power,
Definitely relevant. So, to understand why these Chinese jets might appeal to Egypt, we probably need to know what they're flying now, right? What's their current Air Force setup?
Precisely. Egypt currently operates a pretty diverse range of fighters. It's quite something.
Like what?
They've got the French Rafale, the American F-16, and the Russian MiG-29 MM-2.
Wow. Right.
And it's worth remembering they have a history with Chinese military gear, too, going back decades, like the H-6 bombers.
That is quite a mix. So if they already have all those different types, why look at adding another one, specifically the J-10C? What's driving this potential interest?
Well, there seem to be several key factors. Firstly, they have a lot of F-16s, and many are getting older.
They're a big F-16 operator, aren't they?
Fourth largest worldwide, actually, so replacement is on the horizon eventually. Secondly, there have been reports about maintenance issues with their MiG-29s. That situation's likely complicated by the war in Ukraine, affecting spare parts from Russia.
Right, supply chain issues.
Exactly. And finally, it seems the U.S. has put some limits on upgrades for their existing F-16s, possibly due to regulations around tech transfer, operational parameters, things like that.
Ah, okay. So that paints a clear picture of the pressures.
Yeah.
And this is where the Chinese J-10C, the Vigorous Dragon, comes in.
That's the one. It's considered a 4.5th generation multi-role fighter. It made a noticeable appearance at the Egypt International Air Show back in September 2024.
Right. That would get people talking.
Definitely triggered speculation about a possible Egyptian purchase. Then things got, well, interesting. In February 2025, some local Egyptian media said a deal was done.
A done deal.
Yeah, but China's Ministry of National Defense quickly came out and said, essentially, that was fake news.
So a false alarm. But the story didn't quite end there, did it?
No, it didn't. Fast forward to April 2025, during these joint air exercises, Eagles of Civilization 2025, between Egypt and China.
Okay.
Footage emerged showing an Egyptian pilot actually in the cockpit of a J-10C.
Ah, well, that would certainly reignite the speculation.
You can imagine. And what's really noteworthy here is, if Egypt does go ahead with this, they'd only be the second country after Pakistan to operate this specific jet.
And speaking of Pakistan, one of our sources, a report from South Korean media, suggests maybe a link between Pakistan's experience with the J-10C and Egypt's potential interest.
Yes, the Chosun Daily in South Korea floated that idea. They suggested that alleged successes by Pakistani J-10Cs against Indian warplanes, specifically the Rafale, might be influencing Egypt's thinking. But, and this is really important to stress, our source explicitly states that this claim, the one about Pakistani success against the Rafale, is not substantiated with evidence.
Right. So we need to treat that particular claim very carefully. Just speculation based on, well, not much evidence.
Exactly. Purely speculative at this point.
But the very idea that Egypt might be considering operating both the French Rafale and the Chinese J-10C, that's quite something, isn't it?
There really is.
Our source even points out these two aircraft were reportedly on opposing sides in the India-Pakistan conflict.
That's a unique and strategically significant point. If this deal happens, the Egyptian Air Force would be in a very unusual position, operating two advanced fighters that have potentially faced off against each other.
The implications for tactics, training, logistics Fascinating.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's get into the J-10C's capabilities.
Yeah.
What kind of tech are we talking about? How does it compare to what Egypt already has or might be looking at?
Well, the J-10C packs a suite of modern tech. It uses a fly-by-wire system good for maneuverability.
Like the F-16.
Similar concept, yes. It's got an indigenous AESA radar-active electronically scanned array.
Okay, AESA. That's important.
Very. It's a big leap in detecting and tracking multiple targets at longer ranges. It also features an imaging infrared seeker, the PL-10 air-to-air missile, a WS-10B engine, and the long-range PL-15 air-to-air missiles.
So good sensors, good missiles. What else?
Electronic warfare systems, a modern glass cockpit computerized displays, capability for precise air-to-ground strikes, and it can engage in beyond visual range combat. Plus, in-flight refueling and all-weather operation. So a very capable platform overall.
Sounds impressive. How does it stack up against, say, the American F-16 or the French Rafale that Egypt already flies?
In terms of agility and that fly-by-wire system, it often gets compared to advanced F-16 versions. Looking at overall tech specs, it's considered broadly comparable to the Rafale.
Comparable?
Broadly, yes, though many experts still see the Rafale as perhaps the more advanced aircraft overall. But a key differentiator for the J-10C is the cost.
The price tag.
Significantly lower than Western jets, reportedly. We're talking maybe US $40–50 million per unit compared to US $90–100 million for something like a Rafale or a top-end F-16 variant.
Wow, that's almost half price. That could definitely be a major factor for Egypt.
It certainly could.
Our source also mentioned a pod, a forward-looking infrared and laser target designator pod. What's the benefit there?
Right. That pod significantly boosts its precision strike ability. It lets the jet use satellite-guided and laser-guided weapons effectively against ground targets, makes it a true multi-role aircraft.
Got it. So, shifting gears a bit,
Right.
What's the bigger picture here, the geopolitical strategic context? Why might Egypt look towards China for this, and why would China be interested in supplying them?
Well, Egypt and China, they have a history of defense cooperation. It goes back quite a way.
How far back?
Our source notes the first arms deal was way back in 1975. Since then, Egypt's acquired various Chinese military items, missile boats, submarines, older aircraft like the F-7B and J-6, which are retired now, and importantly, a range of UAVs, drones, like the CH-4B and Winglong-1. They even produce some Chinese designs locally.
So there's an established relationship.
Definitely. And you add Egypt's involvement in things like BRICS and the Belt and Road Initiative, it all points to a strengthening relationship.
And from China's perspective?
For China, the Middle East is a big potential market for their aerospace industry. It's a chance to compete directly with U.S. and European manufacturers. And Egypt's situation, needing to diversify suppliers because of those challenges with their U.S. and Russian fleets we talked about.
Right, the maintenance and upgrade issues.
It creates a kind of natural opening for China.
It does sound like a convergence of needs and opportunities for both sides. But as our sources remind us, this is still just a possibility, isn't it? Nothing's confirmed yet.
Exactly right. We have to keep that in mind. Egypt is also reportedly looking at the South Korean F-A-50 light combat aircraft.
Okay. Another option on the table.
So the J-10C acquisition is still speculative, remains to be seen. And Egypt, they have this long-standing important alliance with the U.S. alongside these growing ties with China. It makes their strategic position quite complex.
So our focus here is just analyzing the information we have neutrally, not taking sides on the plans or the politics.
Precisely. Reporting what the sources indicate.
Okay. So to summarize this deep dive for everyone listening, we've explored Egypt's potential interest in the Chinese J-10C fighter. We looked at their current Air Force, why they might need to modernize, the technical capabilities the J-10C offers, and the bigger historical and geopolitical picture of Egypt-China defense ties.
Exactly. And for you, thinking about this further, if Egypt were to operate both the French Rafale and the Chinese J-10C, what could that tell us about their strategic thinking, their approach to air power?
How might that kind of diverse high-end fleet impact regional dynamics?
Good question.
And for those of you perhaps preparing for the UPSC exams, this potential deal really touches on crucial syllabus areas: defense procurement, international relations, the evolving geopolitics in the Middle East. It's directly relevant for security studies, foreign policy.
Absolutely. If you found this deep dive informative and you want to stay updated on similar analyses of critical global issues, please do like, subscribe, and maybe leave a comment. Any further questions or thoughts you have on this potential development, we'd love to hear them.
And just to be clear, the information we've discussed today comes primarily from reports published in the Eurasian Times.
That's our main source for this analysis.
So finally, here's something to ponder. Given Egypt's long history of operating aircraft from so many different nations, France, the US, Russia, potentially China, what unique logistical, training, and maybe even strategic challenges, but also opportunities, might they face if they do add the J-10C to that already incredibly diverse Air Force?